One of the first lessons I learned, difficult lesson that I learned, came actually before the diagnosis. In the many, many months preceding the diagnosis, where there was an indication that there were health problems and an indication that there was some behaviors and mental habits that were actually creating harm. And you know, when as a partner you can see that your partner or loved one is not going in a good direction, how do you help? How do you support? I remember, you know, finding names of therapists and names of alternative practitioners, and always being on the lookout of people that could maybe help, and coming home and passing it along, and go for a visit and come home and not be interested in what that therapist had to say or what that healer or health practitioner had to say, and how angry I was that I was trying to be helpful and supportive, and that I could see that there was a direction that he was going in, and yet he wasn't ready to have other people help him. And how hard that was to be carrying someone else's health crisis on your own shoulders, and they're resisting. And I remember a moment where I realized that I was carrying his health issue on my shoulders, and it wasn't helpful for him, and it wasn't helpful for me, and it wasn't helpful for our relationship. And at the time, the only solution I could come up with was actually to take a break from our relationship and to live as roommates for a month, because I needed some separation to differentiate myself from what I could see was coming up for him. It was so helpful for me to learn that whatever he is facing is not mine to carry. It's his to carry, and I can support him and be beside him, but it's not mine to carry. And I didn't realize that I had been carrying his health issues on my shoulders until that moment where we took a break. And that was, I think, the earliest lesson I learned. You would think that on the day of the diagnosis, which I remember very vividly, I remember what I was wearing, I remember being in the car, I remember being in the doctor's office. You'd think that, you know, there would be some shock or some grief or some sadness, and honestly, when he was given the diagnosis, a part of me was relieved. Finally, maybe you'll take your health seriously now. Because I felt like there was this hard bravado and macho that was inhibiting his ability to take himself and his body and his health seriously. And finally it was punctured. He could no longer deny. And it was a surprising feeling to have at a time like that. One thing that really I'm very, very grateful for is that I understood when he was given that diagnosis that it's just a word. It's a word that describes a cluster of symptoms. And within my mindset and psyche, I've always believed in the possibility of instantaneous healing, recovery, and things that medical science can't explain. So because I had that within the realm of my possibility, I could accept the diagnosis he was given. I could see that he was told he had this word, Parkinson's, but it didn't scare me. The word didn't scare me. I understood it was just a word that described something in a moment in time, and it could change. I knew that it could change. What I didn't know was whether it would change. And I say that because it was not in my hands. You know, at that point, it's in his hands. It was really in his hands to decide how he was going to approach this and whether it would be an opportunity for him to change and transform or not. I think that that's really when I learned surrender, in the sense of knowing that you're not in control of the outcome. Part of that surrender is me letting go of the projections I have for myself in our life. There was a period of time where I really had to let that go because I didn't know what the future held. And one of the things that I really learned, which, you know, you practice and you hear about in yoga and spiritual traditions, you know, what it means to be in the moment or be present or live life day by day. But I really learned how liberating the present moment can be. You know, I would be at home, and at home there was this cloud of depression and shame of having a diagnosis that W'Ren felt. And being a partner, you are very attuned to what your partner feels. And so there was that. And then I would open the door and I would feel this fresh air, and I would ride my bike to work, and it was liberating. The present moment at that time liberated me. My ability to be present with the elements and the wind and my body and my breath really liberated me from the responsibility that I had as a partner. I think one of the hardest things that I experienced is when you have a partnership. In the beginning, there's a physical, chemical attraction that was very, very strong for us in our relationship. For most couples, hopefully you can keep that strong attraction in the first year, where he was really under a heavy, heavy cloud of shame. And there were also certain physical changes in his face and in his body. The hardest part was not feeling that attraction. That was really hard. Not feeling that, and also knowing that sometimes that physical sense of touch and physical intimacy is helpful for a person. You know, so navigating the feelings I had with what I knew would be helpful was very difficult. Knowing what to keep private in myself and not to share. You know, I absolutely believe in honesty and authenticity in a relationship, and there were some things that I kept private to myself. And it was really, really helpful that I had some examples in my life of people who said things that really showed me that's not how I want to say, even though it was what I was thinking. So W'Ren had some people, he had a rash that was covering a lot of his face. It was hard for him, he was embarrassed to be seen in public. You know, some people would see him and would say, "You look terrible, what's that rash on your face?" And I was horrified that people would actually say that to him. And people who loved him would actually say that. I mean, I thought it, but I didn't say it because I knew it wasn't helpful. And I knew it would add to that embarrassment and shame. So there were certain things I learned to keep private to myself. And just still am in shock about the kinds of things that people say. You know, not understanding the impact that their words can have on a person. Seeing how some people he loved would say things that really hurt and that really were adding to his shame and embarrassment, really made me have a firm resolve to only share with him the things that were helpful. Even though there was a time in our relationship where the physical chemical attraction changed and shifted, I also felt like I fell in love with him again, because there were certain qualities that I could see developing in this process that I had never known in him. That was a really beautiful lesson for me, to really understand the depth to which love is, you know, not only on so many layers, how love can be strengthened when you walk through a hardship together. I can definitely say my love for Ren has really deepened. My love and appreciation and attraction has deepened. It was such a breath of fresh air when you carry a big responsibility and heavy responsibility on your shoulders, to be able to do something normal. And when I was with my friends and we could laugh and share memories and enjoy something as simple as a cup of chai, it really made me realize how important my friendships are. The last thing that is really undeniably present for me throughout this whole process, I really feel there was a grace and blessings from the lineage that I'm a part of, that was with me through all the hard times and all the messy times and all the difficult times. I did feel that I wasn't alone. And I'm so grateful for that presence, that benevolent presence in my life, because I most certainly could not have done it on my own.